Welcome, everybody. This is Activities Across Grade Levels, and we're going to be looking at reading today, tools and strategies and resources and all sorts of good stuff. And we are excited to have the chance to talk to people who, especially people who are kind of new to online instruction and are in that space of like, oh my God, how do we make this stuff work? And we hopefully will be giving you some tools that will get you all excited about some possibilities for you and your kiddos. We'll pass out some thank yous because that is the appropriate thing to do. My mother raised me that way, so there you go. One is to Fowler Unified. And so Susan's district, any teachers who are joining us now or via the recording from Fowler, good to have you as part of it. You know you got a gem in Susan in your district. And then also for the Q, Higher Education Learning Network, you're like, wait, who, what? This is a group that I belong to, and we did some brainstorming yesterday that actually led me to add several other things to what we're doing today. So big kudos to all of the team, Leslie and Megan and Steve, who are tossing out ideas there. Also, we're going to say thanks to Richard Byrne of Free Tech for Teachers, who lets people know about these things. He has a blog that if you don't know about, you got to learn about it because it's just amazingly cool stuff. And he and I actually do a webinar on Fridays called Two EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff. So we hope you will join in for that. I will get the link into the chat for all of this stuff pretty darn soon. So get ready to follow those and get registered for Friday as well if you would. We're very happy to meet you. All right, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to introduce you to Susan. Susan, hello.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, my name is Susan Stewart. I'm an instructional technology teacher on special assignment. I like to call myself the Tech Coach Susan. And I am currently working in a small schools district in Central California. We're a rural farming community, and I support 128 teachers. Before I was the tech coach in my district, I spent 14 years teaching kindergarten and second grade, so I come with a background of early childhood education.
And my name is Rushton Hurley. That's me on the left with the wonderfully lovely lady who, in a moment of questionable logic, agreed to spend her life with me. And so we are both in education, and we come home each day to our cats, and it's all right. We like it that way. It's just kind of in the same. So I am a former teacher. I'm a former principal, and I run a little nonprofit called Next Vista for Learning. It's an online library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content. It's my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance one creative video at a time. So that's elevator pitch for my little gig, and I hope that wherever you are, you might find some use in the videos that we've got. We've got over 2,500 videos about different topics that you might learn in school, about communities around the world, service to others, careers, English language. We're trying to build the largest English language library of free videos anywhere. And so if you're interested in any of these, please stay in touch. Our goal in doing these webinars is to help teachers who are kind of in that space of like, how do you do teaching now, right? To find cool possibilities for the different things that you're doing, things that might be kind of exciting in ways that you hadn't imagined when you were just trying to keep your head above water. And hopefully you're kind of getting past that now and starting to see like, hey, this could be kind of cool. And there are some cool possibilities out there, though I do understand that you may still be in that space of like, and so if that's the case, don't worry. You will get there. How is it going to work today? We're going to take a look at some very specific activities that are built around tools that are out there related to reading in all sorts of ways. And we're excited to share those with you because when we think about what it takes to get a kid engaged and excited about reading, there's a lot of ways to approach it. And so in addition to talking about some tools and sites, you're going to hear a whole lot about how to make it work well for getting kids' attention and getting them hopefully quite excited about what it is they're learning. We're going to start with the first group, our young learners. We'll then go to the upper elementary and the middle and high school. But all along the way, we think that there are going to be ideas that are useful no matter what level you teach. So Susan, get us started with the young learners group.
Right. So one thing about our youngest learners, our pre-K and our kindergarten students, they don't always come in being readers. So really want to consider some resources that allow them to listen to books being read aloud. In the classroom, in the traditional classroom, teachers read books to students all the time. And we know just studies on word gaps and children having access to being read aloud to at home, we want to continue that in a digital format. How can we make sure that our students are hearing quality literature read aloud, opportunities to hear language, So a couple ideas we have here have to do with taking advantage of the library of resources on YouTube. So many teachers are creating and sharing read-alouds of popular children's literature and other kinds of texts already on YouTube. And in my own district, my teachers are becoming their own YouTube stars. They're creating those read-alouds themselves so that their students are not just getting text read aloud, but their teacher on YouTube. It's been really exciting. Some activities I do for that with the super young learners is I pair up a YouTube video and a Google form, for the reason that students can watch a YouTube video, but because it's embedded in that Google form, they don't get all of that YouTube nonsense that comes along with it, the suggested videos, comments, and ads. So I really like taking advantage of a Google form to embed a YouTube video. And then, of course, even if I'm not a reader, I can see a happy face emoji and a sad face emoji and say, oh, yep, I like that book. And it's just a little bit of an activity for students to hear text read aloud. Other ways that we can use text with our really young learners, a number of resources, Starfall, Rivet, offer interactive texts. So students can, like for example, Starfall, a lot of people have experience with Starfall as being a resource for interactive games and the So on the next page, what I have is some of the additional features that people don't necessarily always see at Starfall. And there are probably 60 or 70 books that can be read aloud, and they're just like this, simple high frequency readers. Students can click on the ear and it'll read aloud to them, or they could read on their own, and when they click on a word, it says it. So if they come to a word they don't know. So one thing we have kids do is first they listen to the text, and then they read along with the text, and then they try to read it on their own. So a great way to use one of these free resources like Starfall to have kids, really young kids, having text to read, because we didn't necessarily get to send home our classroom library with our learners when they went home, a few weeks ago. Another thing I really enjoy doing is sending kids to Epic. Now, if you haven't had a chance to see Epic Book for Kids, oh man, so many amazing, high quality pieces of text, informational text, popular trade books, literature, the stories that you have in your classroom library available for free for teachers and students at Epic. So there are this particular search, I did a search for penguins with a K2 focus. So all of these books here come to a Lexile range that's appropriate for K2 learners. You'll see that there are books, and then there are the ones with a little read to me label on them. And what's so great about that is, again, even our early and non-readers can hear those texts being read aloud by a fluent model. So really great way for kids to get collections of books on related topics. One activity I like to have kids do is listen to 3 books on text and try to find 3 books on a related topic and try to find commonalities. If a fact is the same in 3 separate penguin books, man, that must really be a reliable source. So we're kind of modeling that idea of getting some source evaluation, those early media literacy skills from a very young age by having them compare and contrast 2 texts on the same topic. As we move up into the upper elementary, some additional activities we have, we might take some of those digital texts and go just a little bit further with them. One of my favorites is Tween Tribune. It's a place where students can find some Lexile leveled current events articles. So things that are going on in the world right now, you can get the same piece of text in multiple Lexile levels. What I really love about it is the way it works with Google Classroom integration. So a teacher can assign a text, and then students can interact with the text through Google Classroom, mark that activity as done, go into the article, annotate, answer some thought questions attached to those articles. And any of these resources like Tween Tribune or Epic can be paired with any kind of online recording tools. Last week we talked about some pretty cool online recording tools, and students can capture their own reading to practice their fluency and prosody and listen to themselves reading as a way to improve those things, to make sure that they're using the correct intonation and that they're speaking smoothly. One of my favoriteest ways, though, to take all of these digital texts is to do the book snap, right? Let's meet kids where they are, where they're at. They love their snappies. So on the next page, I have some examples of where kids take those texts, they annotate it with images and highlighting. And on the next page, there's some examples of those. Thanks, Rushton, where this particular one not only is it an epic text, it's a screenshot of an epic text using the Seesaw Reflect extension. Let's listen to it.
The text tells me that krill is small fish, and I like sushi, so I think I would like krill.
Right, so there's this new vocabulary word of krill, right? And the student is able to use Seesaw to capture that, and then they're able to annotate in a way that's meaningful for them, right? Circle the vocabulary word, and they're connecting to self, right? Text to self connection. Oh, krill's a small fish. Hey, I like to eat fish. Maybe I would like to eat krill. Penguins eat krill, so that's that really, you know, making it real and relevant for kids. And of course, listening to them speak and say those thoughts aloud. I love being able to smash together those two resources to really have kids connect to digital text. On the next page, you have a couple more examples of that, where students have taken pieces of text and done some annotations. You know, anytime we can get the emojis or thought bubbles or any way that they can mark up that text in a way that's meaningful, it's going to be engaging. And right now, text needs to be engaging. It's going to be so important that teachers adapt some of their traditional tasks to bring the kids in and make sure that they're still with us from this new learning environment. So
let's move to the middle school set. There's all kinds of cool possibilities here. One of the ways to approach this is to think about something that I started a book I wrote about good teaching in the space of rapport. You know, how do you develop those kinds of moments with students that allow them to see you as people who are not just teachers giving them grades, but people who care about their futures and see possibilities for them. And so I kind of turn this in the other direction to say, well, you know, if the student, you know, is thinking about, oh, you know, I've got this teacher I really like, maybe you can go to that teacher and say, tell me about a song you really like. And, you know, also the teacher's like, well, you know, there was this song by Journey back in the day, or whatever it might be, right? And then the student can look up the lyrics and begin to put questions together. You know, what does this mean? What does this have to do with this? You know, why is this important to you? To begin to develop a set of questions based on a text, in this case, a certain kind of poetry, which are song lyrics. And that also gives you a chance to learn a little bit maybe about teachers who are working to motivate you as well. I'm a big fan of Rivet. Rivet's another one that's really, really good across grade levels. It's one of those tools that allows you to get things at different lexile levels. You can find all sorts of cool pieces related to, okay, you know, if this is too hard, go down to this one. That's the basic thing with any program that does different readings based on lexile. But here's another way to approach it. Ask your students to choose 2 different levels of reading for the same topic, and to look at those and to begin to ask, what's different about these really? When we look at the more complex version, why is it more complex? What are the things that are there that make it more complex writing? And getting kids to really think at a level that has them thinking more richly about how they develop their writing is something that becomes all the easier when you've got just clicks away the opportunity to go to different leveled readings. I'm also a big fan of Storium. And if you haven't seen Storium, this one's pretty darn cool. It's another tool that has become free for the time period that we're under COVID-19, this kind of thing. But, you know, while it may be, you know, kind of, oh my God, everybody's doing this, anything that you think might really be interesting, now's a great time to try it out to see what you think. Because what you need in order to make good decisions about what you buy is to know that these are tools that you really like. Now, what Storium is it's kind of a cross between creative writing and role playing. And so the different players have characters, and your characters develop via your writing. And how do you write about them? Is it just right out of your head? Actually, there are these cards that tell you how to move forward with ideas. It doesn't tell you what to write or how to do it, but it just kind of sets the frame by which you write what you're going to do. And a lot of teachers have found that this gets their kids writing much more than they have before. So very nice tool that's out there, Storium edu. So you'll find that one in the link is in the chat as well. If you're watching this as a recording, by the way, on the webinars page, you'll find the links that we put in the chat. So we got you covered there as well. Let's talk a little bit about high school. Now, with high school, there are a number of good tools out there. And one of them that I really like is using the Internet Archive Children's Library. Now, the Internet Archive is something that if you haven't seen it before, oh, by the way, quick question, is Rivet always free? Susan, can you speak to that piece right there on whether Rivet is free always, or is it just now that they're making this possible? And unmute.
Rivet is free, right? The apps and all of the app that is a free downloaded app, and then the text in there are free as well. So yes, it's a free tool.
Cool. So Rivet, good one. Internet Archive. So the Internet Archive is one of those things that is so bold in scope. We're going to archive everything on the internet. That's a pretty intense thing to decide to do. And they've been doing it for a couple decades, right? But they also have loads and loads of really interesting content. So these would be like old movies and films on there, lots and lots of books that are in the public domain as well. They have arrangements to be able to do some things that are more recent as well. You can find a lot of different discussions about that if you go searching for it online. But the children's library is an opportunity to look at something like the children's stories that were available in the 19th century. And you say, but this is for high school. How does that work? Well, have your high schoolers look at this from the standpoint of, okay, if this story from the 18 whatevers was brought forward to today, what would it look like? And especially if we change the audience, and it's not just for little kids, but for older students or for for adults, what might change as a part of it? What kind of things are going on in our society right now that might make the story move in ways that you don't see in the original text? That's where I think you're bringing it up a couple of notches. I also am a big fan of Future Crunch. If you have never heard of Future Crunch, you should certainly give them a look, in part because there's so much bad news out there, right? I mean, the bad news just kind of keeps coming. If it bleeds, it leads on the news, yeah? But there are these Australians who put together this every other week emailing that has tons and tons and tons of good news in it. Now, it's not just like, this person's nice, right? It's stuff from different newspapers around the world talking about advances in science, in the environment, different kind of possibilities related to technology. And so they're really interesting stories. So that's kind of cool all by itself. But with your high schoolers, you can have them not just read it and learn these good news stories, but also begin to look at it from the standpoint of, say, who would disagree that this is good news? What position would people need to be in such that they'd stop and they'd say, this is not good news? There's any number of ways to approach that. And I think giving kids enough creative freedom to be able to look at this from a number of different vantage points can be really useful in how they think about different audiences for different texts and motivations of writers, things like that. Speaking of writers, there is also a site like Goodreads. And so any of you who are major readers out there are going to be like, oh yeah, I love Goodreads, great. So think about Goodreads from this perspective for a minute. You've got all of these different reviews that have been written by all sorts of people out there, yeah? So pick a set of reviews related to a book you've already read. Go through the reviews and pick out 3. And with those 3, look for things like, okay, are there really good insights in this review? Can you, as a reader, can you look at that and say, I really appreciate that this reviewer looked at this character in this way, or I disagree with this particular reviewer because I think that he or she didn't understand the purpose of the author for this reason or that reason. Being able to explore things in that way can be a really interesting exercise, and all the easier when you've got content that's out there that's rich in quantity with regard to who's giving us what as we go out. So there's a number of different ideas across grade levels. We also like to show you some promising resources related to what we're talking about. And we're going to start with Newsela. It looks like it's News ELA. It's actually Newsela, believe it or not. And Newsela is a site which, kind of like Rivet, allows you to see things at different levels, so different lexile levels for the reading. So you might see a news story that's written at this level, and this level, and this level, and this level. You can approach that in the same way that we talked about with Rivet, where reading them at different levels allows you to begin to explore the language in new ways. But it also allows you to begin to look for things like, do you begin to lose part of the story as you go from one level of reading to another? Those can be rich questions for people. Susan, I think you're going to tell us about Common Lit as well, yeah?
Yeah, commonlit.org is one that I love to share with my middle school and high school teachers, but there's resources that go all the way down to 3rd and 4th grade, and they focus a lot of their topics around essential questions. So I might have a big idea like, what is love and how do communities grow and change? And with each of those essential questions, they have thematic resources And they're not just stories. Oftentimes they'll have primary source documents, they'll have poetry, they'll have articles from, from different eras. And so students will able to, you know, think about this big question, what is love, through multiple types of text. So I really appreciate commonlit.org. I like that one because there is Google Classroom integration as well. I can assign things from Commonlit and have it show up in my Google Classroom. In my experience, Commonlit is only in English. That's what I have seen so far, but I haven't taken enough of a dive more recently to see if they've started offering additional languages, but that would be great to research. I do know they have extensive texts in English, but I would love to check into that. So additionally, I have here the Libby app, and this is one that I think is underutilized and underloved, because with your local public library card, with your county library card or your local public library, a lot of libraries offer you the opportunity to get ebooks and audiobooks with the Libby app. So you go check out a book like you would check it out from the library, but we can't go to our libraries right now. And you can get some of those texts. My daughter is a big Harry Potter fan, and she is really enjoying listening to the Harry Potter audiobooks. And I love that she can check it out right from her own phone with the Libby app. And the last one I have here is justbooksreadaloud.com. Earlier, I was talking about those digital read alouds, the YouTube read alouds, and there are so many people out there creating YouTube read alouds. What this website does is it kind of curates high quality ones for educators. So if I go look up a read aloud of Skippy John Jones, for example, oftentimes I'll probably find 40 examples of someone having created a video of themselves reading Skippy John Jones. Some of them are very theatrical, where they, it's a lot about the reader and less about the text. So what Just Books Read Aloud does is they really make sure they find ones that have clear pictures of the text, a nice, fluent, easy to understand reader, and they've got it all in one place, where it really does focus on the text and less about the performance aspect of those YouTube read alouds.
So as we think about this work that we do, and we're thinking about reading today, but generally, let's take that 30,000 foot view for a minute. Our job is to care about kids. Our job is to care about their learning, and our job is to care about ourselves. If we're going to do those first two well, we have to be in a space where we're getting a little exercise, getting enough sleep, we're eating right. And if being at home is allowing you to do that, great. If not, do what you can to shift gears, because our kids really need us to be in a space where we're ready to help. I'll take a little bit to tell you about Next Vista and some of the things that we offer. So there is a newsletter that I put out. The April newsletter is now in the chat, as is the sign up for the newsletter. And every month, lots of different things that might be useful to you as you look for cool things to watch or read or try and the different projects we do. Additionally, we run contests, and there is a contest we've got going now called Creative Strength 20, right? And the idea is for kids to be able to say, hey, here's how you can learn this, and not just parroting maybe what their teacher said, but coming at it with some cool perspective on another way to learn it. We have videos about service, and the contest Service via Video allows kids to tell about nonprofits in their community who are helping others in really interesting ways. And we love seeing kids create these videos that tell about people who make life better for others. We figure that most nonprofits are understaffed, underfunded, and overworked, and to have some kids put together a story about what they do is a pretty cool thing. So feel free to give that a look. You might also take a look at a special thing that we are doing this month, which is celebrating a number of these videos that we've been getting. So we've been running this contest for years, and if you follow the link that's in the chat right now, you'll see that every day this month we're putting something out there that's like, hey, here's a cool service video that some kids made. And we hope that that's something that you'll find quite interesting as well. Now, some other pieces as well. I write a blog, and the blog is called Inspiring Improvement. Sometimes you just need some ideas from all sorts of different angles, and we hope that that's useful to you. Additionally, I've written several books, and I hope you will give these a look. One book called Making Your Teaching Something Special is these very short chapters designed to help you go, oh yeah, that's something I could do. And even if you're wolfing down lunch and reading it, you can try it in the afternoon. The green one, Making Your School Something Special, is how you work with colleagues to ramp up learning, to foster and share stories of success, to build confidence, all kinds of possibilities for making your school a place that's all the more personally and professionally satisfying for everyone. And my newest book is a book called Technology, Teamwork, and Excellence. It's put together by the National Catholic Education Association, good crowd, and their conference is coming up next week. It's free that they're doing this virtual conference, their national thing, and it's free. I'll try to get that link into the show notes for certainly, like the links in the chat, even if I can't find it right away right now. And so as you go into our webinars page and you find that, you'll be able to see that. And feel free to join in. That's the 14th, 15th, and 16th next month. So I hope you'll give that a look. If you got some questions, feel free to toss them into the chat. I do want you to know that next week, we're going to be moving to Thursday afternoon. So Susan and I are going to do a webinar on, like we've done before, activities across grade levels, but we're going to do it on exploring the world, the different cool ways that you can learn about different places around the world with the tools that are available. And we're excited to share those things with you.
So again, thank you. Thank you so much. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Tech Coach Susan. I'm Susan. I'm a tech coach at Tech Coach Susan. Super original there, right? Also, you can find lots of amazing things that talk about empowered little learners, how little learners can create and share using modern tools with the hashtag K2Can2. And really is about that. Like, what can they do? They can do so much. And sometimes teachers just underestimate our young learners. And so I really want to make sure that we empower our little learners and just have them create and share and take what's around them in their world and have them make the most of it. And K2 can too.
Right, and you've got a link in the chat right now, which is a search in Twitter on that hashtag, so you can find the different stuff that people have been posting there. Give that a look. My name is Rushton Hurley. You can reach me at rh@nextvista.org. I answer every email I get eventually. So feel free to give that a look. And then I've also put in the chat the link to our webinars page. You'll find the recordings of the different webinars we've done, the slides that we've used, the links in the chat. There's just so much we're giving away. You guys are so nice. You are very welcome. So we hope that stuff that you'll find good fun and that you'll join us for upcoming webinars. This Friday, I'll be doing the one with Richard Byrne Friday morning. Next week on Thursday afternoon, Susan and I will be exploring the world, and we hope you will be a part of that. So as you begin to go into the last part of your week, I hope that you are finding ways to get excited about different possibilities for kids, the different resources that are out there, and that we will see you again very soon.